If you're looking for quiet luxury in Florianópolis, Cacupé is probably your best neighborhood match. I'm Luciano Oliveira, an attorney licensed in Brazil, Texas, and California, with over 20 years assisting international business and foreign clients. And today I'm here in Florianópolis, Santa Catarina. In this video, I'm going to give you a practical overview of Cacupé for people who are considering living or buying property there, especially if you want something more private and residential than the usual tourist-heavy areas. First, where exactly is Cacupé? Cacupé sits on the northwest side of the island, in the north region of Florianópolis, between Saco Grande and Santo Antônio de Lisboa. You are roughly about 16 kilometers from downtown, and you have fast access to the main roads that connect you to the center and the rest of the island. For logistics, especially if you are flying in and out a lot, the distance from Hercílio Luz International Airport to Cacupé is roughly in the 25 to 30 kilometer range depending on the route, and about 20 to 22 kilometers by road in common driving directions. Without traffic, it can be around 25 minutes. Now, what makes Cacupé unique? Cacupé is a bay neighborhood. It's surrounded by the calm waters of the North Bay Channel. No aggressive waves, no surf town chaos, and no endless rows of umbrellas and vendors. It is the kind of place people come to breathe, walk, have dinner, and watch the light change. Cacupé is famous for sunset views. From the waterfront, you can catch the sky burning down over calm water with views toward the continental side of the city, and you can often see the silhouette of the bridge and the Beira-Mar Norte area in the distance. It is one of the most consistent end-of-day rituals in Florianópolis. If you want to understand the personality of Cacupé in one line, here it is. Cacupé is intimate, exclusive, and intentionally not mass tourism. Even local real estate guides describe it as a more private experience away from the tourist crowds. And that matters because the buyer profile and the lifestyle here is different. Let's talk nature, because Cacupé is not a beach, it's actually a coastline. One of the most interesting details is how the shoreline is shaped. The sand strip is narrow in many places, and it is interrupted by rocks and small hills, which creates little pocket beaches. There are stretches where you can literally feel like you are on a private beach because a rock formation is doing crowd control for you. Cacupé is also popularly divided into Cacupé Grande and Cacupé Pequeno. And within Cacupé Pequeno, there are smaller strips of sand that locals gave names to, often tied to old resident families. That's the kind of detail you only learn when you stop treating the map like the full history. Cacupé is protected by hills and dense vegetation, with tree-lined streets and a preserved view. Even the name connects to that, which brings me to why is it called Cacupé? Cacupé is a word with Tupi-Guarani origin, and it's commonly explained as meaning something like the green behind the hill. It is basically the neighborhood describing itself. Now, a detail most people don't realize until they show up. Cacupé is not a swimming beach in the way a lot of foreigners imagine when they hear beach neighborhood. The water is calm, but the sea bottom can have muddy features because of proximity to the mangrove area in Saco Grande. Water quality may also vary. So for many people, Cacupé is a walk and sunset and dinner beach, not an all-day swimming beach. If you want the classic beach day, you typically drive to other nearby beaches. So what is the lifestyle in Cacupé? It is primarily residential. You have a mix of older traditional homes tied to the fishing history of the area and newer high-end developments. It is calm, it is private, and it is designed for people who don't need a nightclub within a 5-minute walk to feel alive. Historically, this side of the island is connected to artisanal fishing and mariculture, including oyster farming. That's not just a cultural detail, it does shape to some degree the food scene and the identity of the coastline. Now, business and convenience. What's actually nearby? Inside the Cacupé itself, don't expect a big commercial center. The neighborhood has relatively few commercial establishments, and what you do see is often restaurants, hotels, pousadas, and markets. That's part of what keeps it quiet, but it also means you need to be comfortable driving for certain services. But you're not isolated. Cacupé is close to the SC401 corridor, and it's a quick drive to major shopping and services. For example, Floripa Shopping Mall, it's a major destination in the city, and it is often listed as being just 6 kilometers away. And you also have access to other neighborhoods that concentrate more day-to-day infrastructure. Let's talk dining and nightlife. Cacupé is also known for waterfront restaurants and sunset dining. Even cafes and casual spots in Cacupé lean into the view and slow down vibe. Taipei Coffee House, for instance, highlights being in Cacupé with a sea view, and it is the type of place that makes late afternoon feel like a plan. Nightlife, however, is not the point. If what you want is clubs and a loud scene, you're going to spend more time in places like Jurerê, Centro, or other nightlife pockets. Cacupé is more dinner, conversation, and go home to silence. And honestly, it sounds great to me. Now let's get into real estate, because that's why many of you are watching. What does real estate look like in Cacupé? You get a mix: high-end houses, gated communities, and luxury condominiums. Many properties are designed around privacy, sea views, and the feeling of being wrapped in green while still being close to the city. Real estate guides consistently frame Cacupé as a top 3 high-standard upscale residential neighborhood in Florianópolis, maybe behind only Jurerê International when it comes to luxury. You also see a very specific type of micro-location value in Cacupé. Because the coastline has rocks, curves, and pocket beaches, 2 properties that look close on a map can feel completely different in real life. One might have an open, dramatic view of the bay. Another may be more protected, more hidden, more private. Another may have direct water access features like a trapiche or a small dock culture nearby. That's why you don't buy Cacupé like you buy a generic apartment in a great city. And why is Cacupé more expensive than many other parts of Florianópolis? Here are the big drivers. 1. Scarcity. Cacupé is geographically constrained. It is not a flat, unlimited expansion area. You have hills, preserved vegetation, and a coastline that naturally limits what can be built and where. Limited supply plus high demand equals premium pricing. 2. Proximity without exposure. You are closer to the city's infrastructure and main routes, but you're not living inside the noise of mass tourism. That's rare, and people pay for rare. 3. The lifestyle premium. A daily sunset routine, waterfront dining, calm water, and privacy. If that's your checklist, there aren't many neighborhoods that deliver it with the same consistency. Now let's talk about foreign citizens. Is Cacupé a foreigner bubble? No, and that's a good thing. Cacupé isn't built around tourism, it's built around residents. So you don't get the same international bubble vibe you see in certain other neighborhoods. That said, in our work with foreign citizens, we absolutely see international buyers and long-term residents attracted to Cacupé when they want calm, privacy, and a higher-end residential profile. It's especially appealing for people who want Florianópolis quality of life, but don't want to live in a neighborhood that feels like it is constantly performing for visitors. Now, the part that not many people like to talk about, but everyone should. Buying property in Cacupé is not a place for rushed decisions. If you're getting pressured with the classic, someone else is ready to sign, they're just waiting on you, that's not necessarily a sign that you're special. That's most probably a sign that you are being managed. Slow down, verify, get the green light from a lawyer of your trust, and only then write checks, because the legal and technical side of buying in Brazil matters, especially in a market in which there is no title insurance and most sellers won't accept escrow accounts. At a minimum, buyers should have a due diligence completed on the property and the sellers before signing or paying anything. That means checking the property registry, ownership chain, liens, restriction, condo rules if it is a condominium, and making sure what is being sold matches what is actually registered. And in coastal areas, you also want to be alert to environmental constraints and what that means for renovations, expansions, and even what you think you are entitled to do with a view corridor. This is exactly where our team comes in. We have an office in Florianopolis and we provide A to Z legal support for buyers of luxury real estate in Cacupé and Trufal, Santa Catarina. That includes contract review, due diligence, risk mapping before you sign, coordination with notaries and registries, and practical guidance so you don't accidentally buy a headache in a beautiful zip code. And if you want it, we can also refer you to a licensed realtor operating in Cacupé. Quick legal disclaimer before I close. This video is general information, not legal advice and not tax advice. Your situation can be very different depending on the property, the seller, your residency plans, and how funds move. So get specific advice before making decisions. If you found this helpful, like the video and subscribe. If you're planning to buy in Cacupé, schedule a consultation with our attorneys, and I will see you in our next video.